Welcome to my YouTube channel once again. Today I have a review for you for a watercolor set that I found on Facebook Marketplace. And I thought it would be interesting to do a review video for it because I couldn't find one on YouTube anywhere. And it was interesting to find this. It's called Afra Professional Watercolors, 48 extra fine artist watercolors. I found it really interesting because it has around 30 single pigments in their set, and it is made in Iran. It also includes some of the discontinued pigments that have been used traditionally in some of the watercolor paints, and I thought it'd be nice to just do a review video for all you guys to have a look at what it is like. I would be swatching it for you and we will make a decision if we like it. As you can see, it has got some information at the back from where it's come, and of course it is in a cardboard box. Can't wait to open this box and see what's inside. I have already opened it before to see what is inside and have a peek as well, but it'll be nice to unbox it for you guys. And as you can see, there is a plastic palette in here. And it has got a logo of the brand right on the corner. Afra. And I'm going to open it now. And it comes with a palette, a mixing palette on the side, on the lid, and on the other side too. There is another palette where we can use it as a mixing area. And there's beautiful colors individually wrapped in chiclets, as you can see. This side palette is detachable, which is pretty cool if you need extra room for mixing stuff. But at the same time, for this purpose of this video, I will remove it and I'll keep it away. It will save some room on my desk and allow me to paint and swatch out these colors. But as most professional grade watercolors, they come all wrapped individually, and it requires a bit of patience to be able to unwrap them. So I'm going to start doing that in a time lapse as quickly as I can so I can get to the swatching, which is the exciting part. On the packets, each little packets, there is pigment information on the side, and that will be helpful for us to know which of these pigments are individual, like single pigments, or at the same time a blend of so many different pigments coming together. And then I'm going to activate these paints with some water. I use the little water droplets to get the pigments going so they can be nice and juicy for us to swatch. So looking forward to starting this. And the first pigment I'm starting with is called Helio Blue. This one includes a pigment called PB 15:3, which is a phthalo blue in a green shade. If you guys are wondering why am I painting and swatching this in this particular pattern, the paisley pattern, the reason why I do that is because I could have the pigment concentration in the tail of the paisley, and I can see how it spreads within the belly to see the more of a diluted version of that color. And I have seen so many different YouTube video creators swatching their pigments in different ways, and I thought this would be my own little touch because I like using the paisley design. The next one up we have is ultramarine blue, which has the pigment PB29 in it. Which is ultramarine blue. I'm expecting this to granulate because usually ultramarine blue does granulate, and we might see the granulation in the belly of that paisley and the concentration of that paint within the tail of it. I do see some granulation already, and it seems like a nice ultramarine blue, a standard in every artist palette. The next one we're going to look at is cobalt blue, which is PB74. Which equates to a cobalt zinc silicate blue, shortly known as cobalt blue. And the reason why I have that dark 0 or O in the belly of the paisley is because I want to see how transparent or opaque a pigment is, and that will help me indicate that within the swatch. Again, another blue color, a beautiful, nice blue. Let me know what you think about my swatching style using the paisley design. I just thought it would be unique to just do something different. The next one up we have is ultramarine deep. Again, PB29, which is ultramarine blue pigment. Another granulating pigment, and of course in a deeper shade. A very useful color to have in every palette. And there are a couple of websites you can purchase them from online. I couldn't find it on Amazon. I was lucky enough to be able to find it here on Facebook Marketplace. And yes, so it's part of my collection of lots of other paints, brands that I like to collect. Again, a nice rich blue, and of course it's a single pigment, so it's very helpful to be able to use this particular pigment in mixing. Putting some extra water in there. And then the next one up we have is Prussian blue. Now this Prussian blue is PB27. Which is, again, like we know, Prussian blue pigment code. And I'm trying to use as much water as I can to be able to see if it has any granulation or any gradient, which would be nice to know. Pushing all the pigment towards the tail side of the paisley. Alright, so the next one we have up is indigo, which is one of my favorite colors in most palettes. I like using indigo a lot, and this particular one seems to be a nice one too. This one is a mixture of two pigments, PBK PB7 and PB15. Which is a phthalo blue, and it's mixed with a lamp black pigment. It's a nice color to use for midnight sky, and I like it, using it a lot of background in a lot of the painting style that I do. I like how it can become nice and dark, almost black, and then also it sort of gradients out into a beautiful greenish blue color. I am using a Strathmore mixed media book. I like to swatch my colors out in Bat sketchbook because that's the kind of paper that I use a lot for my artwork as well. The next one up, we have in a single pigment color again, which is English Red Deep, and this particular pigment has PR101 in it. Which is a synthetic iron oxide red. Now we're going to go to the next earthy color, which is a burnt umber. And this one is a PBR7. Which is a brown iron oxide. Excuse my pronunciation, but it's early morning here in Melbourne, Australia, and I'm still having my coffee. So that's burnt umber for this particular set. I enjoy pushing the pigment around back into the tail and see how it flows back into the belly of the paisley and create those natural gradients. Next one up we have is a Mortem Violet. Now this one is the same pigment as the English Red Deep, which is PR101, and it sort of has a little different shade to it. Again, another synthetic iron oxide used for this particular pigment. Another earthy color, nice to have in your palette to either mix or be able to use it for different other ways on its own. Here we go. We have the next one now, which is burnt sienna. Again, another synthetic iron oxide, which is PR101. Yet another different shade. And another reason I like using the paisley design to swatch or even paint a lot this particular design is because it sort of reminds me of cashew nuts, and I love cashew nuts. And at the same time, it has sort of like a abstract-y version of mango look to it. Another fruit that I really like. So that's burnt sienna. Now moving on to the next earthy shade we have is a nice looking translucent brown. This one is a mixture of PR101 and PG7. Which is a phthalo green. So phthalo green mixed with that iron oxide, synthetic iron oxide, creates this beautiful transparent brown. The next one we have is a raw umber, which is again a mix of two pigments, PBR7 and PY42, which is a brown iron oxide mixed with a yellow iron oxide. So that's the raw umber for this particular set. Nice dark brown color. Then the next one we have is sepia. I was really curious to see how this one turns out because I do love sepia color in most watercolor sets as well. This one is again a blend of PR101, which is the synthetic iron oxide, mixed with a black pigment which is PBK7, which is lamp black. This can be used for, I'll use the sepia a lot for shadows and mix it with different other colors to get a nice different shade or tone for those pigments. This one seems to be nice as well. And as you might have noticed, that circle within the belly of the paisley, it is showing in most of these colors so far, which means most of these colors are very transparent. The next one we have is a warm gray, which is a blend between PR101 and PBK11, which is a Mars black. I'm expecting this one to be a bit more granulating because it has Mars black in it, but we'll see what it looks like after it dries. It's called warm gray, but it doesn't look very warm to me. It looks quite neutral in its shade. And the next one we have is a black pigment. It's a blend between PBK7 and PBK9, which is lamp black mixed with bone black, which could also translate as ivory black. A lot of people don't like having black in their palette, but this seems to be nice. It's giving a good gradient as well. It can be used for so many different things. You can always use any color and make artwork. Next one we have is just PBK9, which is a lamp black. Again, trying to see if I can have any gradient happening with pushing the pigment into the tail of the paisley. Now we're going to the exciting colors. Next one up we have is cerulean blue, which is a blend between PB15:3, PW4 and PG7. So it's a white pigment mixed in here, so I could just imagine it might be, you can see it's a bit more opaque-ish in its nature. And PB is the phthalo blue, and the green PG7 I believe is a phthalo green. Next one up we have a phthalo turquoise, which happens to be a blend between PB15:3 and PG7. PG7 being a phthalo green. So it's a blend between phthalo green and a phthalo blue green shade. Another beautiful color to have in your palette. I'm not sure, I think I see some granulation here as well. Alright, next one up we see is a sap green, which is a blend between PY38, PB22 and PY138. PB22 seems to be a synthetic pigment blue, I believe, and PY38 is a tin sulfide, and PY138, which is a quinophthalone yellow. And the next one up we have is a chromium oxide. It's a single pigment color which has a PG17 in it. Nice muted green here. Seems to be a little granulating, I'm not sure again. I couldn't find the granulating information about this watercolor set, but I'm going based on what I can see on the paper. Now next one up we have is a hooker's green, which is a blend between PG17 and PB29, which is again chrome oxide color blended with a blue pigment, which is ultramarine blue. Next one up we have is an olive green, which has BB27, which is a Prussian blue, mixed with PY154, which is benzimidalone yellow. Next one up we have is a Viridian tone. It is PG7, so it's not actual Viridian, it is PG7. Single pigment, yet it is actually a phthalo green. Next one again is another green one we have, is called an emerald green in this palette. It has got a PW4, PW6 and PG7, which is phthalo green mixed with two different white pigments. I'm expecting it to be a little opaque. As you can see, it is opaque-ish because it's got this white pigment in it. Next one up we have is a single pigment green, which is PG8. Nitroso green apparently, but it is just labeled as green in this particular palette. Nice dark shade. I'm going to put some more water in here to see what it does. And of course push the concentration of the pigment into the tail of this paisley. I I can see some granulation. Just observing by a stone what's going on in the swatch. Alright. Alright, next one up we have is May Green. And May Green is a blend between PY3 and PG7, which is a phthalo green mixed with a Hansa yellow. Seems like a nice grassy green. Again, it's giving a bit of opacity to me, but it can be diluted into transparency as well. Next one up we have is a violet pigment, which is violet blue, PV23 mixed with PB15. It's a dioxin violet mixed with a blue pigment, which is PB15, which is a phthalo blue. Next one up we have is a single pigment violet, which is PV23, dioxin violet on its own, and it's labeled as violet deep. Another nice color. Now, next one up we have is a purple lake, which is a PB19. Which happens to be a quinacridone violet. Another single pigment color. Good for mixing. It's leaning towards magenta as well. All right. So the next one up we have is a mauve, which is a mix between PV23 and PR122. Which is a blend between quinacridone magenta and dioxin violet. Another nice purple color. And it's been labeled as mauve. I like it. Almost like a red wine color. So the next one we have is a magenta color. A single pigment quinacridone magenta on its own. A good mixing color. Another staple in an artist's palette. Beautiful. Alright, now next one we have is another earthy color, which is English Red Light, which is PR101, another synthetic iron oxide shade. It's interesting how many different shades they can make out of this one pigment, PR101. Let's move on to the two colors that everybody dreads to have on their palette and they feel it's a waste, but I don't think it is. The first one is zinc white, which is PW4. And the next one is a titanium white, which is a mix between PW4 and PW6. So titanium white mixed with the zinc white makes the titanium white, which is a bit more opaque from what I can see on the swatch card. Next one up is a lemon yellow, which is PY3. Traditionally labeled as Hansa yellow, but here we have got it as lemon yellow, PY3. Another single pigment, good for mixing. I'm noticing these colors are quite vibrant, which is a good thing if you're looking for that sort of nature from your paints. Next one up we have is a cadmium color, cadmium yellow light, which is PY35. I know cadmiums are something frowned upon at the moment because it is toxic. So if you're looking for a palette which does not include any toxic paints, so this is perhaps something you can avoid. But traditionally cadmiums are a part of artists' palettes, most of them. So this particular one is cadmium yellow light, PY35. And the next one up is a cadmium yellow on its own, again PY35, a single pigment. You have to be careful when using these pigments not to inhale them or drink your watercolor water by accident, and you shouldn't do that anyway with any pigment water, but at the same time you have to be extra careful with storing these pigments. Next one up is an Indian yellow. Now this particular pigment I found interesting because it was discontinued based on some website that I had a look at. Daniel Smith sold it as New Gamboge, and some other website sells Alt News watercolor sell this particular pigment as opera lemon. Interestingly enough, this pigment I found a little bit of information that it is a bit fugitive, that's why it was discontinued, and in this set it is sold as Indian yellow. Next one up we have is yellow ochre, which is PY42, which happens to be a yellow iron oxide. Another single pigment color which is very helpful to have on your palette for so many different purposes, on its own or for mixing. Yellow ochre. Next one up we have is a raw sienna, which is again a PY42. Seems like it is a darker version of yellow ochre. Alright, so the next one up we have is orange light, which has a pigment of PO20 in it, which is cadmium orange. Another single pigment, but again it has that cadmium in it. Nice and vibrant. And And the gradients are really beautiful as well. Next one up we have is another orange pigment. It's the same pigment, PO20, but it is a darker version, which is called Orange Deep. You can see the difference between the two. One is nice and light, leaning towards more yellow, and the other one leaning more towards red. And the next one up we have is a pure orange, another orange pigment leaning more closely towards red on the spectrum. This one is PY142 and PO67. The PO67 is pyrazoloquinazolone orange, quite a tongue twister there, and also a yellow pigment which is PY142, which is just a pigment yellow. And this one is labeled as pure orange on this set. Nice range of oranges we have here. Next one up is another reddish orange color. It is labeled as vermilion hue. And this one again is the PO20, another version of it, which is cadmium orange. Another single pigment, so good for mixing without getting your colors all muddy. Next one up we have is cadmium red light. Another cadmium pigment which is again PO20, but another hue and another shade of these fiery colors. Next one up we have rose madder, which is a warmer red, PR177. Anthraquinone red, based on the pigment information, PR177. Another single pigment. Alright, I just dripped some water there. I'm going to pick it up. Now, next thing up we will see is a carmine red, which is PR177 again, which is anthraquinone red, but a different shade of it. And this one seems to be a bit more cooler in nature. So we have a warm red on top as a rose madder, and this is a carmine red, which is a bit more cooler in its shade. Now, last but not the least on this palette we have is Madder Deep, which is PR179, which happens to be perylene maroon, but labeled as madder red on this set. One more single pigment color. Now I'm just writing down all the pigment information and their names based on what it has been labeled on this set, on this swatch card. Rather, I'd call it a swatch book. And I'm looking forward to filling this whole book up with other watercolor sets that I own and review them one by one. I just happened to try this one recently, so I just recorded this video for you guys to have a look. And if you get your hands on this watercolor set, let me know what your experience has been. I think this particular set is quite vibrant and it has a lot of single pigment colors in there. So it was quite interesting playing with these, and I'm looking forward to painting different things with this set. I hope you enjoyed the video of me swatching this particular set. Let me know in the comments below what you thought and what other sets would you like me to try. Do not forget to like and subscribe because that will definitely help me out and definitely help me build this channel up more. I'd like you to thank you guys for taking the time out to watch this video till the end. And here is all the paints that they look like after they are dry. Until next video, I would like to love you and leave you and say, have a great day. Happy painting!